Hi. You know, I of course plan will be superannuating in October, which is at the age of 65. But I joined SP as a student in 1973, probably on 16th July 1973, little more than 48 years back. SP has changed a lot. The architecture department which I joined, undergraduate architecture department which I joined, had only very limited students in each year, something like 35, compared to now 120 in each year. And this building was quite well designed for 35 students into 5 years, plus ND 20 students into 7 years. So it was quite a nice experience to be in a building, to be in the campus, which had huge resources because it was catering to very small number of students. Something like sports, if you look at it, within the campus we had a basketball court, we had a volleyball court, we had a covered badminton court, we had a cricket pitch. So all within the building, and of course across the road Indira Gandhi Stadium was not built, which was built in 1982. So huge sports just across the road, which was also not so busy. So it was a place which had a good library, beautiful studios, sufficient space, lovely canteen, good food, good sports facility. And being not from Delhi, one was staying in a hostel, which was in a planning building. And planning building also had a good facilities like lawn tennis courts, and one would spend time here without even realizing when the day started, when the day finished. And when you're working, you don't even know when the night finished, because though we didn't have a luxury of a 24/7 canteen or a tea, coffee, so one would walk down to Indian Express building, which was also open at night because the newspaper was being printed and all the vendors were there, to taxiwalas to collect so food, coffee, tea, all. So in all, 73 was very different from what we have today. No, very limited cars, so though not enough requirement for a parking within the building. That is how it slowly started, when the large number of cars, large number of students leading to large number of faculty, thereby kind of one by one various outdoor sports facility being curtailed or redesigned to take care of sit-outs in green spaces, open air theatre, but also accommodate car and sports, except for the space at the back of the workshop, is almost all gone. Now, why this happened, how this happened, when this happened, is a history of last 48 years. But obviously it was being a central institute funded by the government, following the government reasons to accommodate more students, or also discontinuing the evening classes and making everyone morning classes. So it's almost now kind of ultimate to its bursting to its seams, but probably one is managing, because now big drawing boards have been replaced by laptops. So workspace requirement for students is much smaller than it used to be. Yes, you require a big printing facility, which is created by the school. So just the right time to shift to the new campus, especially with the new national policy on education, which is now looking at things differently. And I'm sure this campus is also long pending, but advantage it gives us is that hope the new education policy would lead to revisiting some of the design decisions, or taking care of the new campus in a way that it kind of dovetail into the new education policy, where lot more choices will be given to students and lot more exit options and other options. So it's a 73 to 2021 is a big period where India has changed a lot. So is the SPA, but just because SPA's architecture department remained in the same building despite growing 3 times, yes, there are issues. But despite issue, the mood of the student is still as happy as they are. Just imagine when we closed down or locked down in 2021, the students managed to squeeze in their Utopia, and we closed it on the last day of Utopia, something like 18th, 19th March. Since we were at that time taking care of a faculty development program during the same week as Utopia, we saw the students' enthusiasm has not reduced, if not increased. And the bigger number of students allows many more activities, many more functions, many more areas where the students can spread their creative abilities. So it's a big change. It's a little bit of nostalgia at this time when I am kind of in another month and a half will be superannuating as a full-time faculty, and hope if school requires continue to come as a visiting. Let's see. That is the prerogative of a HOD. What else? Yes, things have changed from the teaching techniques to the teachers to the it was experienced some time back when one was teaching along with our own students, and now teaching with my students. So but I still feel that from my heart it's one of the best places which can impart architecture education, and it does attract a lot of talent, and we do get students who really want to join this institute, and they attempt maybe one time, second time, if not third time. And to most, I think it whatever they come, whatever the aspirations they have, it kind of surpasses their expectations, except for infrastructure. But that's all right. If you're doing well, and if you're not worried about few things here and there, then it doesn't even bother you. If that bothers you, then maybe you'll have to take a second call before you want to come to SPA. Just things like hostel, like accommodation. But hoping that soon in next few years we will be taking care of all that also in a new campus. I know new campus is going on for last 20 years, but something happens and it just gets a pause button gets pressed very often. So I hope that this time when the play button starts, it completes the cycle which it was meant to take care. What else? There are huge memories, kind of the life one had spent here, the kind of life with limited resources one had spent here. The moments, the friends who are now spread all over the world, and faculties, still remember many of them who taught us. Of course, we were one of the last few batches which were taught by Professor Jhabwala, who's revered and remembered a lot for his many acts, which included way of teaching, discipline, sympathy and empathy towards students. I was from a small town. Now it's not a small town, Chandigarh anymore, but 73 Chandigarh was a small town. So I did my schooling from Chandigarh. When I came here, for me, unlike school, I thought everyone here was so helpful to the students, demanding, discipline, demanding or expecting a lot of good work. But any issue of students was so well taken care by the administration and faculty. And I sincerely hope, or at least whenever I got that responsibility as a dean or a head, I thought that what I got from my faculties as a support, or my administration as support, if I could create similar environment and almost give them a similar help and support, whether to PhD scholars, whether to students, whether to anyone. So yes, it has been a beautiful journey. It is a long and beautiful journey where, in this building, architecture building, for a short while there was a hostel also. One started a hostel in planning building. For a short while there was a hostel in architecture building before Maharani Bagh campus was built. So as a student, I have stayed in a planning building, I have stayed in an architecture building, in a hostel. And one of the small memories, when I was doing my Masters of Urban Design, I got married. So experiences of a first year or first 1.5 year of marriage, being in SPA, and the wife studying in NCRT, was a very, it's like as a child to teenager to married to, having kids, and eventually having one of the kids studying in SPA was, yes, it has a huge memories which probably in a few minutes are difficult to, share as a standalone speaking. If one is talking, maybe one can remember many things, many incidences where one of the sport was once we wanted to take care of a standard thing for any student. Mess में खाना अच्छा बनना चाहिए. कैसे अच्छा बनेगा? So let's get some good cook. So we took an interview, finally got a cook who used to cook in, I think, one of the Bessie's. And suddenly the menu and the quality changed. But the staff was not happy. They were not used to working hard. And they went on a strike. Trust me, it was so damn nice to see administration supporting us fully. They said if they're gone to strike, just call them and tell them that we want to give good food. You want to be with us, be with us. If you don't want to be with us, start looking for a new jobs. No one was fired, but they were given stern, clear instructions. The best thing was that the registrar, Mr. Omarji, didn't blame us. He just said that I understand. So many situations like this in SPA were for me, at least I won't say about others, that whenever anything good was attempted, there was 100% support, despite few resistances when you want to change. And that created a very good memory. That is where I decided that I would one day like to come back and teach and share whatever I have learned every day with students the way my teachers did. And I sincerely hope that intelligent young generation of faculty will continue doing that they are here for students like our faculty were here for us. And despite, of course, few things here and there, which we keep calling infrastructure. So, one of the best things about my faculty, which I remember, that very large number of them were practicing, and they had their own projects to share the experiences and the lessons learned by them. And when I decided to join SP as a teacher, it was only one of the reasons that yes, I could build buildings, I could practice architecture and also teach. And what I learned today morning, I can teach today evening. Good things, bad things, mistakes. Slowly over a period of time, the focus is shifting on our research, focus is shifting on our getting PhD. Not that I have not done PhD, I did my own research, but much later in life. But it was not a prerequisite to become faculty. prerequisite was always the kind of buildings you had built. We always used to say there has to be balance, both on a theoretical front, research front, and building front. In my view, these are my personal views, that undergraduate architecture profession or undergraduate architecture course, which will lead to license to practice, requires a faculty which has also done practice. Not all, but a large number, a certain percentage. And that was very big attraction to join SPA, that you could continue to do practice and teach. Later, of course, that practice became institutional, which was also okay, that you can take up projects in the name of school and work. But the present day scenario where faculty is selected with how many papers written, PhD done, is not wrong. But for undergraduate department like architecture, they must add how many buildings are built by them, how many buildings they were involved with. In addition to, they must get a good points for their research, good points for theoretical background, but also, there has to be some consideration for the hardcore architecture practice for a fairly large number, at least 2/3 of faculties. 1/3 can remain purely onto the research-based practice or theorization-based teaching. But I still feel undergraduate architecture courses have to have a large number of faculty which have got the buildings done. And even if they're not done, they should be encouraged now. So that when they talk to students in a design studio, we should not solely rely on visiting faculty. We should not solely think that portion will be taken care by the visiting faculty and core faculty can be only research based, because if class doesn't have a respect for the studio director or a core faculty and they lean more toward visiting faculty, that's not a very good scene. Full-time faculty is leading from front. So this is my concern, or let's say I raise a flag that while selection is going on for full-time faculty, equal consideration, if not more, to be given for undergraduate architecture course. I'm not talking of master's course. That the large percentage of faculty has got buildings built, not just the working for others. Working for others you learn, but when you design and get it built, you learn so many things every day. So many things. I've already said somewhere that when I joined as a faculty in 1985, which is almost 36 years back. The seniors were still, some of those seniors were still who had taught me, with whom, and now today there's a very large number of faculty which teaches with me were my students once in a while. And these are the students who also wanted to do good work and come back and share their knowledge. Things have changed substantially. Attitudes have changed substantially. Earlier, if we had a batch of 35, 80 to 90% would stay in architecture profession. Today, yes, there is a large number of students who do not stay in a hardcore practice. But the learning and teaching of architecture teaches you to look at problem from many angles, look at many options, and whatever field they are in, this stays with them. This idea of exploration, idea of a different opinion by different faculty on a same subject, on a same design, on a same drawing, and everyone trying to do their own way, or with their own perception, their design, and this kind of experience, this kind of one thing I must say that it's one of the hardest profession. You spend much more time on drawings or designing or studies compared to many professions, and also it's not so well paid when we compare with computer engineering, etc., compared to the time students spend, compared to the hard work students do. But I think one can join this profession only if you are in love with this profession, or later if you fall in love with this profession. Then it doesn't matter few rupees or few dollars less than your class fellows, because what you build, and if you see people using those buildings and appreciating it, these are good things in a building, that stays, that kind of happiness which I don't think money can bring in. When I designed a school for my wife with the limited resources, so my son was traveling in a bus, and there were two young girls talking about the kind of building which is coming up, and son just listened to it and shared with me that they said, what an interesting way the building is coming up in that little 800 square meter property. And that kind of reminded you that it's a profession where people don't appreciate you for money, but people appreciate you for work. And trust me, architecture profession is more like a wine. The older it grows, the better it becomes, and then even the money follows. Beginning is very tough. Beginning is salaries are low, compared to many professions. But after 15-20 years, you are as good as anyone else in terms of your income, in terms of your financial status. So I would say that don't worry about first 10 years after you graduate. After that, you won't have to worry. So there are people who feel that this profession is not well paid, but then it also depends upon us to ensure that when we keep a staff, we pay them well. When we charge good fees and pay well. Unlike we cut our fees and pay poor. So that responsibility is on seniors. When I joined this place, there was a time when if your job is not, if you've not done a good job, you can really get it is said that teachers can throw your sheets out of the window. What is this? And that could have been in today's days when children are brought up differently compared to our days when there was a small capital punishment. I'm not saying right or wrong. That kind of made us tougher. That kind of made us tougher to face tough situations. Harsh words, yes, can sometimes bring your esteem low. And what has happened in this period that we stopped using those harsh words because the way generations are brought up, the way things have changed, some students can really feel low if you say a few wrong things on their work but I personally believe, at least in SPA, every student is a bright student. You cannot get admissions if you're not a bright student. So if every student remembers that every student is a bright student, he is a bright student, and if he is not doing well, there is only one reason: he himself, she herself. Yes, you could be from a small town and limited exposure, someone could be from a large city or international travel with a much bigger experience, but that is for first 2-3 years. That 2-3 years everyone becomes equalizer, and those 2-3 years is somewhere some people will have to work harder than others, but I was told long time back, IQ is related to time. That if a problem is given, some person will solve it in 5 minutes, some person will solve it in 7 minutes, some will solve it in 8 minutes. If you give 5 minutes to solve, not everyone will complete the project. There will be few who will be left. If you are one of those who require 7 and 8 minutes, so give 7 and 8 minutes. Work long hours. Trust me, you can do as well as anyone in the class. And once you start doing well in class, you kind of are encouraged to work more. There are examples where some students who do not work during the week and come out, or during the semester and come out with something bright. That examples are not right examples in my view. Consistent, you're here to learn. I tell my classes even today that what is it in a year? 32 weeks is a teaching time. If we take exams, give and take, 40 weeks. But teaching time is only 32 weeks. Out of 52 weeks in a year. So you have all the time in the world to do whatever you want to do. Even in school you don't get that much off. What you get off in an academic institution like ours or undergraduate course. So 20 weeks or maybe let's say 16 weeks after exams where there is almost no work to do. So if you can use your 16 weeks completely focused towards your work, and the learning stays with you whole life. It's much more difficult to learn later. Who will give you crits? After building is built, if you get a crits from the user, obviously people will keep cursing you for many years. Whereas in a class, you can get various opinions, provided you've done sufficient work. Not for the passing, but for learning. This somehow some students, despite all the counseling, do not believe in it. Yes, they could be doing well later in life because of their connection, because of their networking, but I have a feeling they won't be learning too much. They could be good managers who get a good projects and earn good money and hire good people. Okay, but you're not here to become manager. If you wanted to be manager, you should have done MBA. You're here to be hardcore architects. And during the process, if you find that this profession is not what you expected it to be, you have choices to leave after third year so that you can get into any other related or similar or field. So I believe that everyone can do really well provided he or she wants to.